Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. Today, we are going to attempt to make a candle holder. I've seen a couple of designs out there, but I was like, you know what? I can do it better, I think. So might as well try and do that, and maybe I could show a couple of techniques while I'm doing that. One thing I do often is I use the same color to do the same thing. Maybe you all do that or not. I try to always use this blue color, the second one, as my fill. And the first one, the black one, I try to do as my line engraves. So not a cut, but just a line. And then red, I try to make my cuts. And then what I do is along the outside, if you see what a dark blue or a dark red, well, I'll use those for the same thing, just like a different layer of that if I wanted to do it. This just helps me out in a way to where I know that if I see a purple line or a blue line somewhere, then that's going to be an engrave. And it just helps me out. So it's nothing to do with what we're doing today, but the first thing that I did is, I'll bring up a picture of it. I decided, okay, what kind of candles do I want to put in this candle holder? You know, what size? Obviously, that's going to matter. It's what size circles that I make for the whole thing. And my aim here is to make a universal candle holder that I can put any sort of designs in and make it specific. Like I'm kind of working with some Celtic stuff right now because that's kind of where I got my inspiration. I was working on this Celtic cross and it has the circle behind it, right? And so I got all into these circle, the things that go behind a lot of the crosses. Now, ultimately, I decided not to use it in my Celtic cross, but I do think they're super cool. So I was like, okay, how am I going to implement this into a candle holder, kind of like the one that I saw? But I didn't like it because what it did is it put these little candle holders on top and as a base and then on top. Whereas I was like, I should just implement that into the design. I think that it's much better for what I want. Now there's certainly reasons to do it the other way. And I will probably, when I come out with a file for this, and I'll let you guys know, I will probably leave both options available. That's kind of like the way I want it. I want to make it to where you out there can design your own things, and that's kind of what I'm showing you here. So, bottom line is this inside diameter here needed to fit my candle holder. And I worked with really cheap stuff, right? I wanted to use tea lights because they're pretty universal. They're 1.5 inches, and you could just throw them in there. But I was thinking, but you might want to put a glass holder for them so they're not directly on the wood, and eventually it's going to get stuff all over. But it will be larger so that you'll actually be able to do either way, whatever you want to do, right? And I want to put some sort of something in underneath the candle to make it look cool when you don't have the candles in, it just makes you feel better. So let's try and do all of those things. First thing I do, so I measured these glass things I got from the dollar store. Wanted to keep this cheap, so anybody can do it. And there's a 4-pack. I only need 3 of them. And I measured it. It came out to like 1.85 or something inches. And so calipers can come in handy, but I just used a ruler in this case. I made it in my handy dandy Rolly Lasermatic XW. Loving it, by the way. Cut it out and then put the candle on it and said, okay, yeah, this is about what I want. So now I have this. So I have a circle. I wanted to wait to decide how big I wanted to make it until I knew what size my circles were going to be so that I could make it look kind of how I wanted to. Now I want this to be on 3 sides. So Typically what I like to do when I design is just put this right in the middle as best as I can, so that I have an idea of, when things are on the line. And what I'm going to do here is also I'm going to make a triangle. So how you could do this, you make this polygon, and then you just say, okay, here's your polygon. And then what you can go up to shape properties. Now, if you don't see a shape properties, you can go to window and make sure you have that clicked on. Shape properties, sides, where it says sides, you can click that down until it says 3. Obviously, it's a triangle, right? You want 3 sides. And getting that perfect might be difficult. I don't know, as far as getting it right smack in the middle, but that looks pretty darn good. So that's going to help me. I'm just going to add that as a tool. And so your far right there, I like to use the blue tools as tooltips, and then telling it not to frame. This way, it's there, but it's not going to cause any issues. So then I'm going to take this and I am going to duplicate it twice. And so then we're going to have our 3 points. And then I'm just going to try and get them get the first one kind of where I want it. Like, all right, how's this look? Where is it going to look the best? I almost think that right at the end of that triangle looks the best. So I'm going to do that with all of them. Engineers and people who are super detail oriented probably will fare much better with this sort of design thing. I'm kind of a master of all trades, right? Or jack of all trades, master of some. So honestly, though, it looks pretty darn good, I think. And that's going to be your basic shape. Now, how do I get rid of this line? You're going to go to what's called a Boolean assistant. So I'm going to grab this tools. Let's see. Let's try and grab one of, I'm going to hit this. I'm going to grab one of them. And this is just hit or miss with me. I learn all the time. So if you bring up, what I did is I clicked just the outside. Okay, and then the outside of the circle, go up, and now that I've done it once, I know I can just hit weld shapes. But if you bring up the Boolean assistant, it will let you know what it's going to look like after you've finished. And that's pretty interesting, right? So if you just hit the union, now we end up with just the outside. And before I do that to the last one, I'm going to duplicate this, because this is going to end up, I'm going to cut 3 of these, which is going to set on top of this to be where to add that little, holder for it. So then I'll go back to this one and we'll hit the Boolean assistant again. And yeah, that's still the one I want. So that's done. Now, technically, I could just delete these circles inside, because this will fit right over the top of that. And I no longer need these circles. But because I want to put a design inside these circles, I'm going to get rid of this tooltip now because I just don't need it. Because I'm going to put a design in there, I'm going to go ahead and put this as a line now. And I'm going to end up putting something in that. And you may even see it before I do. And then the next, so, okay, there's going to be one of these. I'm going to be cutting 3 of these, and they will be glued right on top of each one of these to hold the candle in. I'll probably use a 1/4 inch, but if you have like a 10-watt diode laser or something and you can't get through a 1/4 inch, you could just cut several 1/8 inch and glue them to each other. But I think this design overall just works better. I may change this overall look. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it so you can do it on your own. It kind of looks weird here, but in the end it might look perfect. We'll just see once it's done. I may want to push these in a little bit more though. In fact, I'm pretty sure I do. So I pulled up a couple of pieces of clip art that I had, and let's just bring those in, edit, copy. Now I did this by just opening up new window, and then I just put stuff in the other window, copy it, and then bring it over and paste it. It's just easier for me. And once again, I want to put it right in the middle. Just makes it easier for me. Now I can resize this later. I just kind of wanted to see how it was going to look, because I'm going to end up putting another circle around, a couple of them actually. So we're going to do this. Then I'm going to make a circle, hold the shift button. Now, many of the things I do, there's going to be easier ways of doing them, but this is just how I do it. And then I'm going to offset that a little bit, because in the end, I'm going to want to make a solid line between the two. Not quite that much. So this is the offset tool. I guess you're seeing the tools that I use most. I'm not using node editing on this one, but that's about the only thing that I use all the time that I'm not using in this. I guess I don't use it all the time. I think 0.1 is about what I'm looking for here. And so if those were both blue, now what you have to look out for is, okay, I want this tree to look like this. But then sometimes when you take your lines and you make those also fills, then you look at it again and it changes things. Fortunately, this time it didn't, and it looks just how I wanted it to. Maybe a little too big, but we'll leave that for right now. Actually, I'm not going to leave it for right now. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller and then recenter that. As you can see, the way I do things, anybody could do it. It's nothing special. We're going to go over to the ring I got here. I'm going to group that. Then I'm going to copy it and put it in the other. Paste. And then I'm just going to set it here. Now I'm going to try something I've never tried before with this, which is, how do you use the Boolean assistant here? I mean, is it possible? Probably. To be able to get rid of these spots where the cup holder is. So I'm going to try that for the first time. Now, normally, there's different ways to do this, obviously. I could get rid of just one of these pattern in 3 areas and then just have it not there. But I want to try this. Now let's overall take a look at this and see what it looks like. All right. I wouldn't say this is my favorite altogether. I think as a wreath, I would probably change this to something slightly simpler, since this is already kind of interesting. Make this a little more plain on the outside, or something that matches it better. I don't know, but I'm just going to give you a basic idea. Again, in my pack, I would probably have several options, and not just Celtic, right? We could put some prayer hands in here, or the Celtic cross, or many different things. Some sacred geometry would be really cool. I'm just making something that's fun. It's not really made to say anything, but I liked the idea of the design. So I've got that, and then I'm going to hit Shift, and then I'm going to go up to Boolean Assistant again. And you know, I don't usually do these sorts of videos, so I think okay, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. So, I mean, I guess like and let me know down below if this is the kind of video you'd like for me to make. I usually do things on business, things on reviews, you know, and just what I generally make, but I don't generally show people in Lightburn how I do it. And I did get one request for that, so I was trying to, you know, do that. Okay, so here for the Boolean assistant, it would do what I'm asking it to do. It would just cut off that little bit. Is there a different way? Certainly don't want that. Certainly don't want that. That actually does what I want it to do, but not quite right. I guess it does. I could just bring another circle back into it, but I think this way works best, and then I'll fix it on my end. Okay, so then I'm going to grab this one, do the same, and oh, I don't want to do it that way because it's making it part of this whole thing, which is not what I'm after. So I'm going to hit Control Z, go back until that's not that way. Go back to the Boolean assistant. I think this one, no. That one. So that one just cut away what I didn't want. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. I'm going to do the same with all of these. Okay. All right, so now that is gone, and then I can just make 3 copies of this. I can get these perfect in a minute. It's hard when the pressure's on. All right. So that's basically the idea. I'll turn these into lines again. I'm sure I did this the hard way, but you know what? Sometimes it's just not worth stressing about. I have basically got what I'm looking for. Now, do you want... Sometimes you might want the artwork to go the other way. So what if I did arrange and then I flip it the other way? So this way, if I take this whole thing and rotate it around, now I've got the candle at the top. So, which, you know, when you're doing a triangle kind of thing, it's just all about the way you want it to look. But I think if you went ahead and finished this, that would be pretty nice. And what you would do, as I said before, you would cut out 3 of these, and then they would go right here on top. And then you can take, say, whatever a graphic you have, and I wouldn't probably do the exact same one, right? I'd do something a little bit more fun. But you could take that and just set it here and duplicate that 3 times. And now once you set the candles, this will be underneath your candles. Okay? So it'll probably look nice, you know, even if it doesn't look nice, like I said, it just feels better that it's not just plain beneath there. So you can put anything you want. You can put some words that go with whatever you want. To say it's Celtic, you could put some runes or something. A lot of fun. I may want to put something right in the middle as well, like say add an engraved spot here for a gemstone. I think would look pretty cool. And again, I think this, you would probably want the whole thing right in the middle again to do that. The middle has changed, of course, because it's triangle. So I guess I could just eyeball that one. That looks about right, somewhere in the middle of the tree. And then I could make a spot here where something sits. Another candle or a gemstone or a saying or anything. That could be pretty interesting. And as this sits, as long as I cut out 3 of these in whatever type of wood I want, I should be able to run this right now to the... I would change this. But let's get rid of this because it's really not part of the design yet. I was just futzing. But as it sits right now, yeah, I could just run this as it sits, engrave it, cut it out, make 3 of these, stick the candles on it, and it is finished. So that's kind of cool. Nice and easy. And again, like I said, you could just change it and put any graphics you want to into this. That's why maybe having something on the outside that's kind of generic might be nice, just so that you could change whatever's in the middle and it wouldn't really influence too much about what here's on the outside. Because say you wanted to do prayer hands or something in the middle or a cross, you're not going to want to have Celtic stuff on the outside. That's not okay. Well, with a Celtic cross, it would look good, but you get what I'm saying. So it just depends on how you want to do it. But I hope you learn something in this. Even if you don't want to make the candles or anything, you got to see the typical things that I end up using that are so effective when it comes to making a design or fixing somebody else's design that you're like, you know what? That's cool, but I could do it better. Or some of the shapes aren't filled in or things like that. So anyway, we'll see. Let me know what you think, what you would change, what I should do, and whether you'd like to see more of this. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.